Okay. Ready?
You let's go. Oh, that's juicy.
No, I'm telling you to laugh so you can.
I am, but I can't. What the hell are you doing here?
Just get up.
Oh my gosh! It's like, what the heck's going on?
You think?
I haven't seen you this.
The neighbors
animated.
No, I'm trying to get animated. Because if you can make yourself be animated.
All right.
It helps. So, but maybe it's funny that we were filming that because people can see you just react to me being like,
right.
What the heck is he doing? Welcome back to the Juicy Jude podcast with my wonderful grandma.
Hello.
Judy. Didn't introduce yourself. I'm co-host Austin. Or at How Lost. That's a nickname. You didn't know that was my nickname.
I did not know that was your nickname. I thought that was a Twitter account.
Well, it's my name. Like, I used it because as my Twitter, my Instagram and stuff, because that was a nickname people had given me. Right. So, How Lost. I when I talk about myself, I call myself How Lost. Yes. So. Okay. Anyways, I'm your other host, How Lost, and we did sit down to film this episode.
We did.
About 6 days ago. Right, we did. And it went...
off track.
Off track. But we are going to post that episode, and we had a really great conversation, so we did. Look forward to that. But we're back. We're here to talk about some juicy topics. Yes. And today... that topic is
hello
RuPaul's Drag Race or RuPaul's Drag Race. I don't know how you would say it, but RuPaul's Drag Race. So
I'm excited.
You're a big fan of RuPaul's Drag Race.
I am. I'm a big fan.
Now
I love him.
We talked about this a little bit off camera beforehand, but before I moved in with you, it's been about 2 years, so almost. Right. I guess about a year and a half ago.
Yes.
Had you ever seen RuPaul's Drag Race?
I had not ever seen RuPaul's Drag Race. I saw like bits and pieces of it, advertising it, or never had an interest in watching it. Even though I liked RuPaul, I've always been a fan of his because I think he's talented beyond measure. But
you hear that, RuPaul?
No, and he makes a beautiful. He's woman. Just woman. Yes.
Yes.
He drags out
RuPaul
good.
Charles.
Yes. And so I've always been a fan of his makeup and his wigs and his,
And see,
persona.
When I asked you originally to watch the show, I honestly didn't even know that you knew who RuPaul was, or because I didn't know who RuPaul was until I first watched RuPaul's Drag Race. Now that might be tea in and of itself, since I'm like the homo of the family.
Right.
But I was introduced to it from a guy that I was dating shortly after I had left college. So this was like prime, like right out of leaving Christian school era. So I was still kind of like, Jesus, take the gay away. And so I think for me, like having a show that was so gay, or what I saw as flamboyant, really was a mirror. Kind of like for myself. So I think when I first saw it and was introduced to it, I was like, even though I was obviously like in bed with a dude, okay, gay, or, on the spectrum of sexuality, you know what I mean? But, I've already basically acting out and embracing this lifestyle, and yet like seeing other people embrace this lifestyle. At first, it was a little bit jarring, and I was like, oh my gosh, like,
people live like that?
No, not that they live like that, but more like my facade. I guess it was still keeping that facade of like a straight man. So like I tried to, I guess maybe avoid feminine culture or gay culture at the time.
Overtly feminine hairstyles, makeup.
No.
That kind of thing?
I'm not hairstyles, just.
Well, wigs, I'm talking about.
No. Well, what I'm just trying to say is like, it represented what I was trying to deny in myself, I guess, at the time.
That's what I meant. The wigs and the makeup and the feminine.
But no, because it's not that I was denying. I guess, being feminine or wanting to wear wigs. I'm just saying that, like, seeing a show that, like, was so embracing of LGBTQ plus culture, that was not where I was at the time. So it was something that I had an aversion to at first because it confronted my own difficulties with my sexuality, not my own, like, difficulties with femininity or things like that. That's why I'm drawing the distinction.
Yes.
It's not the same thing. But anyways, I watched it, and then, I don't know, I think a couple months after breaking up with that guy, I went back and watched the seasons, and I was like, wow, I'm obsessed. Great TV show. So I was really excited when I came to you and you wanted and were open to watching it, because it is a really great show. But so just could you sum up, I mean, what were your first thoughts on your first watch? What did you think?
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a hard time at first pronouncing the queen's names and associating the name and the face. And I know you, like, already knew half of them by name and by face, and you say, oh, that's, so and so, and I'm, so that was kind of unnerving a little bit. But what I enjoyed was their in the beginning, in the first seasons, they would design their own dresses, so they had an element of bringing themselves into the show,
right?
And I enjoyed that.
Right.
Plus, I love the makeup.
Yes.
And the makeup tips they have. I've always been into makeup, ever since I was 12 or 13.
Which, like, even that in of itself, when we watched the show together, has been a point of contention, because you kind of like maybe more the pageanty, like, pretty styles or aesthetics. And so somebody like a Sharon Needles, who's kind of like the queen of spook, or those kinds of things,
outlandish.
You're kind of like, you're like, what? Sharon won. I'm like, yes, Sharon won.
Yes, and the painted faces and the weird goth looks and stuff like that. That, I mean, I'm more of like, let's see them, dress up in these fine dresses. And,
like, you love, like, Chad Michaels.
Yes.
Who else did you really enjoy that you wanted to win? A lot. You get the point.
Yeah. Valentina.
Well, I kind of wanted Valentina to win too.
Yeah.
Team Valentina.
Yeah.
But yeah, so overall.
And like I said, yes. But I also had a difficult time, which you corrected me, in the beginning, saying, do I call him a guy, or do I call it a girl, so I had to really watch what I was saying to maybe not say the wrong thing. And also, you told me about shade. What shade meant, because I was like, what, So I learned a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And too, they start talking about their personal life and how they've been rejected by their family or friends, how they were at school taunted and things like that. And so they bring a lot of human elements into their life story, which I thought was, I enjoyed that too.
And I think, I mean, even for myself, I think that's something that I really enjoyed about the show early on, because it came to me quite early, I guess, in my gay journey, or starting to embrace that, It was good for, like, exposing you to maybe a culture that you're not familiar with, or that maybe, like, somebody, like, going to a real drag show, or going to a gay bar, or, like, even taking that step to even admit that you're interested in maybe something that's atypical, can be scary, but to kind of explore it through watching, I think that's maybe why a lot of people have actually found interest in the show, because it allows them to explore their curiosities and to find some answers maybe to questions that they had that they didn't have before, such as, the difference between somebody who's a trans person and a drag queen, because not all drag queens are trans,
right?
And not all drag queens want to be women,
right?
But I think that's a common misconception that people
Right.
have. And even back in the day when I like was really young, I thought that like I didn't ever want to be called gay because I thought being gay meant like also wanting to be a woman. Like I'm like I never wanted to be a woman. So when people were saying that, I don't know, part of me was like, it's not like I want to be a girl. Like I just am a man who likes men, you know?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the best parts of the show, that it really allows for an educational experience for people who are unfamiliar with queer culture, drag culture.
I can't remember the queen who was a trans from a female to the male.
On this most recent season?
Yeah, the most.
Woo, who is that?
Who is that?
Who is
I
that?
can't remember
Internet.
her name.
That is Got Mick.
Oh, Got Mick.
Yes.
That's right.
So,
Got Mick.
Got Mick. Yes.
Yes.
But
oh yeah. How did I not remember that?
That's okay. And there's been quite a few male to female trans representation as well. Gia Gunn, Peppermint. Let's see, and quite a few trans queens who have transitioned also after coming on the show, which includes Gia Gunn. I know Carmen Carrera. There are others that I might not be naming, but
right. But Got Mixed. I mean, she was very different in her approach to makeup
so now,
too.
And I'm just going to stop you now, just because it's important to, since we're talking about trans as an, if you're talking about the person Cade, you would use right. I think Cade uses he him. I should probably go check before trying to correct you. But when you're talking about the queen, yes, you can use like the she, her. But as the person, I mean,
it's a he.
Yeah.
Yeah. What Got Mixed is the queen.
Right.
And I liked her a lot.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Great queen.
Yeah. Right.
Love the looks.
And I thought she was going to end up winning too. I really thought she was going to win.
I mean, I said Simone all the way. I
mean, you did?
Yes, I love Simone. And I think, especially in the culture of this past year, and considering a lot about the inequality that's happening to, like, you know, BIPOC people everywhere, that having a queen that is really, you know, embodying Black culture and uses it as part of their creativity and their craft and brings honor to that, but is also stunning and talented and funny and all those other things. Yeah. And it's not that other queens didn't bring stuff to the table, but
yeah, she had Black Lives Matter an episode with that.
Yeah, but beyond that, or I mean, like the do-rag train, like
that's true. Yeah,
that was beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of the outfits. You know what she did when they did the makeover episode with Utica. So really cool.
But I didn't see Simone winning the end. I thought it was going to be Got Mixed and
you got Mick and Rose. You thought
Rose,
right?
Yes, Rose. Oh yeah, I was rooting for Rose.
Right.
She had me from the get go.
From the get go.
Yeah.
And again, I think
I was rooting. And we were disagreeing with this, but that's who I was rooting for. And I thought for sure the final would be Got Mixed and Rose. But it ended up being Candy and Simone.
Yeah, sure.
Those were the two I thought would be on the bottom.
Sure. But we did not come here today to necessarily just talk about season 13, because I know we're kind of getting into all of that. But,
that's right. Well, we're talking about the RuPaul.
Right.
The most recent one is... So
let's talk a little bit, because I did talk a little bit about my first introduction to RuPaul's Drag Race, the show. But I had some pretty cool experiences early on too, where I was actually, you know, able to meet real drag queens who are not famous celebrities who went on RuPaul's Drag Race, and then you know them because of that. Through the local gay bar when I was still in Denver.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I think this is the night that I lost my virginity, LOL. That when I went to the club with this person that I was with, I made a comment about a drag queen, and I was like, wow, she is so beautiful. And of course, I'm also wasted at this time. But I made this comment, and so the person that I was with went up to the queen and was like, hey, My friend said that you were beautiful, like, and they want to kiss you. And I did not say that. But I ended up kissing the drag queen. She was in full drag, very beautiful. The lipstick was awesome. I was like, that tastes good. I'm like, dude, is that a secret about lipstick that I just don't know about, that it tastes good sometimes? But yeah, so I had that experience, and that's the closest I've ever been to kissing a girl, because other than that, I'm a gold star gay. Dated a girl, but no...
So, who was this? What was her name? The queen in Denver. What was her stage name?
No, don't throw shade on me, Judy.
Huh?
Don't throw shade on me.
Oh.
I don't remember.
You don't remember.
Moment,
Okay.
No.
Because usually they have a very different kind of name that stands out. And she was in she was a drag queen in the
but
area?
Like I said, I was drunk, like heavily inebriated. So I can remember the kiss. I can remember some of the, but I mean, like a name, girl, I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
But that same person also, around that time, took me to a drag show of one of her friends. I'm saying her because this person did eventually transition, but one of her friends. And so I got to see, a drag queen on their premiere night, and it was a really small bar, and just to see kind of that real drag culture that I think RuPaul's Drag Race gets a little disconnected from, when it is this huge industrial sort of thing that it's become, where you have to have money and you have to have the greatest outfits, and it's kind of become about this mega stardom rather than about the origins of drag culture and the local bars and that kind of community.
How does RuPaul solicit or gather the queens from around the country? Is it through local bars that they?
No, I mean it's like any reality television. You submit an application and a tape accepting your skills.
I getcha.
Yeah. So.
So say they've had 13 seasons. Say there's been 12 to 15 queens on each show. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about 150 queens total that we've seen come and go through this show, this reality show. Mm-hmm. So, and 150 different queens in 50 states. That's not a lot then, huh? No. It's only like 2 or 3 from each state.
And yeah. And if you think about it, I mean, 150 to 200 drag queens representing all of drag culture is not the reality. And it kind of makes it like people stop wanting to go to like the local drag show and want to save up their money. I mean, we went to a drag and drive event. Obviously now bars are shut down. So maybe we have an excuse, but that kind of thing where it becomes, how can I go to the events? How can I see the big queens? How can I see the people that I saw on television, rather than I'm going to support my local queer community, my local queens, and being invested in and partaking in that culture. Because again, like obviously that experience that I had with that drag queen who was willing to kiss this closeted gay boy, like just because, like, that changed me, obviously, and it left an impact on me. That's why I'm talking about it now. And I think when it becomes so much about the televised or like the Instagram or like those big event kind of things, it can be a little disconnected from the true heart of drag culture, and plus some other things that we're gonna get into and talk about when it comes to RuPaul's Drag Race specifically. So you ready to get into
I think
those?
RuPaul has brought drag racing or drag to the forefront of the acceptance, and you have to applaud him for really giving these queens an opportunity to make it in show business and promoting their entertainment to a different level. And it's made it an acceptable form of entertainment for the general public.
True.
I thoroughly applaud him for doing that.
Yeah. And yes, I mean, there are going to be two sides to every coin, and it is, I mean, we're going to get into some things that might break down a little bit of those opportunities a little bit more and clarify some behind the scenes information that some people that might just be viewing the show and not be super fans, maybe like we are, or spend a lot of time on YouTube like me, no. But yes, I think RuPaul has done a huge service to all of us and to the queer community, and especially drag queens, with making drag a viable form of art and creativity, and saying, yeah, like this is worth money to go see, and having people be excited and partake in those events and those venues.
The ticket you bought for the drive-in RuPaul drag race here in the Phoenix area, the tickets were like $50, right?
Well, I paid for the VIP so it could be up front. Right. So I think I paid $150.
Well, to me, that's a lot of money for a concert. So
that is. I mean, that's more money than I paid to go. I saw Halsey once upon a time. That was more money than I paid to see Halsey or other people.
And I mean, to go, and it was crowded. I can't believe how many people showed up at that drive-in concert.
And people want to see drag.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So you know, and at paying a premium cost or premium interest fee to see that just goes to say that it's people are invested in this and they enjoy it and they're willing to pay. And these drag queens should be reimbursed for what they provide for us as entertainment. And you know, we're going to talk about that contract that they have to sign their life away practically to be able to appear on the show.
It's true.
Which makes them famous, which you have to say, makes them famous.
Yes, it does get them
but at what cost?
Exactly. And I mean, like you said, we're about to get into it, but it goes to say that, like, even though so much good has been done to make it viable, even for those queens that it's become viable for, they still are really going through it with the ins and outs of show business and the behind the scenes and the contracts. And,
but where would they be? Where would they be if they didn't take the chance or the risk to go on RuPaul's Drag Race, expose themselves, their name, their identity to, you know, the world? Sure. Would they just be in a local bar, you know, dressing up and not promoting themselves on the national front?
But I mean, again, like, does that have to be the highest bar for drag? Because I don't think that is. And I think that's the problem. And that, like,
where would it be?
I'm not saying.
Where's the bar going to be?
I'm not saying, but it shouldn't be the only bar, and it's become the only bar. I think it's good because
the
bar was hidden maybe before, but now it's like, if you're not on RuPaul's Drag Race or you don't have their level of a following, then you're a failure. Then you're not treating it as your dream.
Then we need another form of reality TV other than RuPaul. I mean, we need some other way of exposing these drag queens in a different...
Canon Power Mark, G Mark, 7 Mark, 24-minute cutoff time. We love that about the camera, but we are happy for what we have and manifesting better at the same time. But you were talking about how you feel there needs to be something else. I feel that there should be something else
other than RuPaul Drag Race that's affords these queens an opportunity to show their talent and their versatility and their you know, being on television and exposure. That's where the money's at, and they need to be able to. There needs to be something other than RuPaul. And I know you were talking to me, and you read the contract that these queens have to sign in order to appear on the show.
Yes.
Which, when you were sharing with me, I was like,
"Oh, girl, what you talking about?"
I know.
Yes.
So I don't know if you want to talk about that contract.
Yes. So again, shout out to BussyQueen. I don't know if I said that on or off camera, but shout out to BussyQueen for having 2 great videos that really helped give us points. At least because a lot of the stuff I had read in other sources too, but it helps to have it all in video form. So shout out to BussyQueen. Thank you for the video exposing the RuPaul's Drag Race contract and the true cost of Drag Race, because it helped put a lot of stuff in frame for us.
You said there was a connection at the end of the video for that.
Yes, so I'll link to those videos by
Okay, good.
BussyQueen in the description box down below for all 30 plus people who are watching this, in case they're interested, or more, manifesting more. We're up to 39 views in our first episode and 3 subscribers. Oh, cool. So high five, Judy.
Yay.
But anyways,
small step to mankind.
No. Do you remember the name of this podcast?
This one here?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Juicy Jude and RuPaul's Drag Race.
It is Juicy Jude. And why did we call it that? Because we want to talk about juicy things. And so, this contract is juicy. I got notes here. So we have the receipts. And we're going to talk about some of the highlights of like what is really corrupt when it comes to this contract. So first things first, let's talk about the length of the contract, right? Because what you're saying is that people need another avenue other than RuPaul's Drag Race, the television show, to be able to market themselves and have exposure and get paid.
True.
Now, when it comes to this contract, they can be held up by what they agreed to in the contract from appearing on any other forms of digital media, any other things for up to 4 years. So basically when you first sign this contract, right?
To go on to the RuPaul Drag Race show.
Right. Yes. So you sign up to do 1 cycle, right?
1 cycle, 1 season.
But just doing 1 season, that means then that they can ask or basically require you to come back for up to 5 additional cycles in the future. Which is crazy because that's a lot of cycles. Yes. And that also includes All-Stars. And beyond that, they can do so, what is it? Yes, up to 4 years from the final airing of the season that you were on, of your most recent season. So, for instance, if you are on season 1, that means that they can call you back in season, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Because it's been about 4 years since your initial season. Even if you've moved on, you're done, you don't want anything to do with them, part of your contract says if they want to call you 4 years later, when you've moved on to be a part of what they're doing and to do filming, you have to say yes, which is crazy in and of itself. But beyond that, they have this exclusivity clause inside of the contract. So, who is looking at me?
What are you anticipating with excitement?
I think you were just like, what?
No, I find it so interesting to break this contract down that these queens have to sign in order to just get on the show. It's like,
to be honest, I was looking at you because I was like, do I sound stupid? Because it's a little bit difficult. Because again, these notes and everything that we created, we drew up about a week and a half ago now. So it's not as fresh in my brain maybe as it could be.
Right.
I should have been well prepared. But you know what? If you can't notice, we have way better lighting and better sound this time around. So my focus went to other things.
True.
But basically, this contract is just not good. Like I said, for one, they can require you to film and be part of their future broadcastings for up to 4 years from the last episode that you are a part of. Now, to me, that's way too long. Maybe 6 months, maybe a year or 2, but to say 4 years, that's way too long. Now, they also have some exclusivity. Now, let me recap myself on this. So part of the contract is this exclusivity agreement, right? So what that means is that for basically 24 months, but from the time that they sign the contract, yada, yada, they are signing exclusivity for WOW Productions to have all rights to anything that they produce, all access to their social media, anything. So any offers that come in to be on television, to do interviews, things like that, they all have to be vetted and approved by the producer before the queens can say yes, which is crazy because what you're saying is that queens need the ability to have more than just RuPaul's Drag Race. But just going on RuPaul's Drag Race means that RuPaul's team, this producing team, can say, you have a really great opportunity to go on SNL? Sorry, honey, we only believe in Sunday Night Live. because Saturday Night Live, get it?
Yeah, Sunday instead of Saturday.
But that's crazy. I mean, you had a lot of thoughts to say about that, about the exclusivity. I mean, how do you feel about that?
I was thinking you're signing your life away. I mean, you're literally handing over your future for the next 4 years to RuPaul and their accounting department or whoever.
Yes.
And they have the right to kind of dictate to you where your next meal's coming from.
Exactly.
Or, you know, what you can do and what show you can go on and how you're going to be, the exposure you have to media. Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, all of those accounts have to be vetted through RuPaul.
Yeah, they basically get access to that and they can say,
right,
we don't want you to post something like this or take
right,
down something like that. I mean, I'm sure in all actuality, they're not sending something to these producers every single time they want to do it. I mean, maybe they are, maybe they aren't.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of have to believe that maybe they're a bit more lenient because that's a whole lot of work to approve every single thing a queen's doing.
True.
But who knows? I mean, it might be
Has there
crazy.
been a queen to challenge these kind of rules that they have?
Tamisha Iman is coming for you. Yes. Yeah. Well, part of this is also that within the contract is a pretty stifling and strict NDA. So basically, the NDA says that if you talk about anything in association with the production of RuPaul's Drag Race,
mm-hmm.
One, that you breach the contract. So if queens did want to, I guess, be super vocal and come against and talk about their true experiences of what it was like to film or produce, that means violating the NDA.
Mm-hmm.
So you ask and might say, like, why aren't more queens coming forward? Well, I'd like to tell you, Judy.
They can be fined.
They can be fined.
And up to how many thousands of dollars? $1 million.
Thousands. Yeah, you're right. $1 million. And not just $1 million, but $2 million. And
$2 million.
$2 million. And the part that is written to this contract, which is really crazy, is it says that the $2 million is not a penalty, right? Okay. It's not a,
no,
you shouldn't do this. This is, you broke the NDA. Now we're going to punish you. No, it's a agreed upon sum of liquidated damages. So basically they're saying like, no, this is just good faith. We agree that if we break this, it's going to be $2 million worth of damages and we'll pay that, which is crazy. Now, BussyQueen did point out that there have been queens that have broken their NDA and have not been sued. So it doesn't necessarily mean that just because this is in the contract that the production team or that RuPaul is going to go through with it and actually like pursue these things. But the fact that it's in the contract itself is ridiculous. $2 million. Now,
yeah.
Who
as a queen, who would have access to $2 million? I mean, RuPaul, maybe himself, might have access to $2 million, but I mean, just the average queen, I mean, she's lucky to have enough money to buy a gown to even go on the show. And we talked about that. Yeah. To even appear on, you sign a contract, okay? Mm-hmm. And that's literally giving the next 4 or 5 years of your life to basically RuPaul. You have to come up with being able to, you know, fashion yourself at the show to win. Say you want to go to the very end, say 12 episodes. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of gowns. That's a lot of makeup. That's a lot of wigs. That's a lot of money that you have to invest just to go onto the show. Right.
It is. And it's not just if you want to make it to 12. Because, I mean, I don't know if people know this, but just because you bring enough episodes to cover every single episode, mm-hmm. the producers, they already know all of your outfits beforehand. They see the concepts that you have, the pictures that you take.
Right.
So it's not like just because you get eliminated third episode that you got to save money. Mm-hmm. No, you're coming having spent, you know, thousands of dollars to the show, and they don't even get paid very much.
$500, right? Episode?
I think in the beginning it was about $400. Let's see. Now, yes, it's about $500 per episode for the first season that you're on, mm-hmm. plus 5% per each additional cycle. Okay. And that's not a lot because if you're I mean, and BussyQueen really broke it down great in his video. But I mean, if you're coming like low end of the budget and you're saving money, I think one of the lowest they quoted, BussyQueen quoted, was around $1,500. I mean, even $1,500 for an entire season. Now that's really stretching your budget. That's getting down to the nitty gritty. That's basically making everything yourself from raw materials, plus your blood, sweat, time, energy, and the natural creativity to come up with those ideas. Like, that's crazy. And you'd have to at least make it to the 3rd episode to make back the money from being on the show. But part of the huge controversy with this is that to even get on the show, there's more and more pressure to have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to be able to afford the kind of flashy wardrobe and aesthetic that, like,
you need to win.
Right, to win. But again, that comes back into drag race and drag culture is not all about winning. It's not all about having the flashiest gowns and outfits. I mean, every queen, just like every human on this earth, has their own unique personality, traits, why they do drag. But having this show kind of have the corner on the market by locking these queens into long contracts and I mean,
not reimbursing them adequately to provide enough money to just cover their expenses to go on the show.
Because beyond just the low pay per episode, they're also, it says in this contract, they're basically agreeing to be managed by World of Wonder after the show ends. But they're agreed to be managed by them on terms that are not as yet associated or negotiated or even talked about at the time that they're talking and signing the initial contract. So it's like, even then, if you don't, they have the right, and they're basically controlling what kind of things you get to do even after. So if you go on and you're not successful, I mean, they could still be in control of what you get to do after that. I mean,
they don't take a share of the profit they make, do they?
Honey, you think that if they're signing up that they don't take like a talent or fee? I'm sure they do.
That's what I was thinking too.
Which is even crazier.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, did you? I don't think you were paying attention to the part of the video, but BussyQueen talked about Adore Delano. You remember Adore suing her manager? That Adore made about like over $3 million in the span of 3 years, but only got paid around $320,000, I think. So that would be almost like an 80% cut.
No kidding.
I mean, obviously there's more to the story, but it just shows that like it could happen. Like that's
$3 million and she got $300,000.
Right. And it's
just gotta see, these girls need protection. They need something. Yes. I mean, I know RuPaul, once you go on the show, he does provide some of the costumes, and during the talent portion, he does allow, like, they are able to win a little bit, like $1,000 here, $1,500, $5,000 for winning the talent shows and stuff, which kind of helps alleviate some of the cost for the gowns and stuff.
Right.
But to go in and having to purchase all of your, I mean, and those gowns, sometimes when they do the lip syncing, they have breakaway clothing, and those things are expensive.
Right.
So.
And it's just like, it's just a hole that the deeper you go, it's like the worse that it gets. Like these queens really need to be protected, because it's like, again, like, it's really great that RuPaul's Drag Race has been a successful TV show. And it's great that queer and drag culture has been catapulted to a whole new stage, and it's gained acceptance and things like that. But at what cost? I mean, and now it's like drag is just this very small corner that RuPaul has control over, and there's nobody else in the market to offer other opportunities for other queens who aren't on the show or who want to make something of their drag culture. And it's like, just because a queen doesn't have a $20,000 gown and hasn't been on TV and, you know, is only able to perform on the weekends in their local dive bar, doesn't mean that they're any less talented or not trying to achieve their highest possible with that.
Yeah.
but it can seem that way. You know, now that there are queens that are making something of themselves because they're on RuPaul's Drag Race, but it's like, what about all the other queens in the world who are not?
Yeah.
And
well, maybe this can, you know, bring everything out front and some changes. We can see some changes happening.
You heard it here first. Juicy said it. Juicy Jude said it. So
Yeah.
Juicy Jude said it.
Yeah.
It's better to be happen.
Let's do
The
it.
changes.
Let's change this.
Yes.
You know, let's change it.
Yes. Change it.
Yeah, change it.
RuPaul. Talk to him. Look at the camera. RuPaul.
Change that contract for these queens. You know.
And that ain't shade.
No, that's not shade.
That's truth.
Yeah. Let's challenge him on that.
Yes.
Well, I welcome his
RuPaul, if you'd like to respond, let me know.
And I'm a great fan, RuPaul.
She is a great fan. But I mean, there's a couple other things. Let's see. Is there anything else that's worth noting in here
about the contract? Well,
there.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, you know, after 4 years, I mean, and it starts all over again. I think after say 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, if they get called for another cycle,
and then they come back in for another cycle. That is another 4 or 5. So this could go on 20 years. Hello.
Forever.
So after 5 years, you go back in for another episode. That's another 5 years. And then after that, I mean, these queens are never going to be out from under their thumb.
And if they violate the contract, they're basically agreeing because they do have some clauses in there that say if you violate the contract or if you're terminated for any reason, that you might have to also give back all the money that you earned from working or any prizes that you won.
See, that's
even if you won the $100,000 prize 4 years ago, you could be asked to return that.
That's, to me, is ridiculous. I mean, come on. I mean, we're talking 20 years just to appear on one show, just for the exposure to get you, say, famous. Right. At what price, though? That's, to me, is, oh my gosh. I mean, that's...
And again, it's also at the detriment of, like, the real on the ground drag queens and drag bars. And not that the queens that are on RuPaul's Drag Race are not that themselves, but you know what I mean? Like, they can only represent such a small portion of what's going on every single day all around the globe. And so, you know, those real, like, local places, those local people, the real tangible flesh and blood people, like, they also need our support and they need our exposure and they need our fandom. And I mean, we're just not as invested as a culture and as people. And it also says something about our culture and how much we value fame and television.
Well, that's one of the highest forms of, I think people aspire to, fame and fortune. I mean, and you know, the queens are, I think that's one of the things that they are known for is really they want to be famous. And if this is the only avenue that they have in order to have the exposure to be famous, I think that's where we need to have change too. Right. We need to have a change in that contract.
Yes.
That allows them to, you know, renegotiate or to be able to step out of that contract after a year or so. Yeah. And then we also need change in the exposure.
That exclusivity. I mean, I get that the whole RuPaul's Drag Race industrial complex wants to make money, but like to limit what queens can do, especially after this season that they air, when it is their most profitable and most influential time, like, don't take that away for those girls. They should, I mean, 6 months, if you want to make your money off it, if you want to be able to, like, control the image of the show that gets out there by controlling these girls, but, like, let them be free to do their own thing, to have their own art.
Where did these queens go after the show? Like Alaska.
Yes. You don't really follow any drag queens post-show.
I think you do. That's what I'm asking. I don't follow them like you do, so I'm not sure. I know they have RuPaul's Drag Race that tour the country. And I know they have shows that.
But again, like, even those are, like, still wow productions, like, wow stuff, which So,
World of Wonder.
World of Wonder.
Wow.
Wow. Yes.
Wow.
Wow, you fucking suck, World of
I
Wonder.
know.
That's what we want to say.
Yes.
And or boost the pay that queens make, you know.
So where did they go after the show?
I mean,
for the exposure.
I've kind of skipped over your question because it's like a general, like, I mean, they
Is
do
it
whatever
just
they
local?
want.
Is it their local venue?
Well, I mean, queens obviously go back to where they're from, and they continue to
say New York, Philadelphia,
and they perform the local bars, which technically they're not allowed to promote according to the contract when they're going to be performing at these a lot of times. But yeah, I mean, they go back. I mean, a lot of them. I mean, the biggest is to get on, you know, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, create revenue and content in that way, and that's obviously a huge way. And they have their own individual events. Maybe I don't know. I mean, I don't know. They keep doing what they were doing before, but better or more. I don't know. Okay. Go ask them or do your own research.
Is there shows that tour the country other than RuPaul? I don't know if any. That's what I'm asking. Is it just under the RuPaul Drag Race?
I mean, I'm not saying that that's the only, or that there's not drag queens that might even be in other tours or things like that. But I don't think there are any big names that I know of. If you know of anything, please let us know.
Las Vegas would be a good place to be able to have exposure to the entertainment of drag queens.
Right.
What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, Pheromone. Mm-hmm. There's quite other Las Vegas queens that have been on the show. So, yeah. But that's it as far as the contract and stuff goes. I was interested to hear a little bit of your thoughts about just differences, maybe like in RuPaul's Drag Race being on television itself. Like, are you down to talk about that?
And if I liked it, I mean, from a difference of 50 years ago? Well, you were talking about how I find RuPaul acceptable watching it on television. And if...
Well, I think because I feel like RuPaul's Drag Race is a show that is very different than what would have been on television and been popular 10, 15 years ago. 20, 25 years ago, you know, because what changes and what's kind of more, I guess, acceptable or mainstream changes. So how have you seen media, and especially like queer media, how has representation changed based on maybe what you would have seen 50 years ago in the 70s versus today? Well,
you would never see RuPaul drag queen on television 50 years ago. I mean, I remember when Lucy had to sleep in twin beds because they were a married couple on television, but they still, you know, thought it was inappropriate to see a married couple share a bed. You know, they still had twin beds.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken,
we've come a long way.
An interracial relationship as well, right?
I Love Lucy?
Yeah, isn't he like Cuban or Puerto Rican?
Well, he was Cuban, yes. Yeah. But that's...
But still, I mean, there were a lot of people back then that was a big thing. Mm-hmm. So do you think, I mean, is it more like a good thing that there have been changes?
Oh, absolutely. And that's a good thing. Like absolutely. Good thing. But, television's come a long way as far as accepting and exposing a culture that's a lot different. And so it is very, it's nice to see people embracing this. And I know RuPaul, the RuPaul Drag Race I mean, that's a really big deal.
It is.
I mean, it's, people really like it, and the exposure it gets in a worldwide media, it's all favorable.
It is.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe we can do a future episode where we talk about maybe some tea, not just on the show, but on RuPaul himself, because there's been lots of drama and stuff that has been said about Mr. RuPaul Charles.
About what?
about his character behind the scenes and stuff like that. But we don't
behind the scene.
We're gonna stay in our lane of focus for the day with the show itself. But do you think having a show where the queer people are championed and where femininity is championed, do you think that is positive for people to be seeing nowadays who might maybe, because I think
it's very positive. Now, as a parent, you're probably saying, well, is this appropriate for young kids to watch?
I don't care about that.
I don't know if I think as a parent, if you find it where it's offensive in how you view it, then you still, I think, need to watch what your children watch on television. But to me, the RuPaul Drag Race, it was entertaining as far as showing these girls' history and the way they were brought up and how they became, say, rejected by their family because of their sexual identity, and that they were bullied at school because they were different. All of this exposure that they have on the show and explaining how their lives were different, I think it's a good thing. We need to see that human interest in the characters of the queens. But like I said, if as a parent, if you would find that this is not a show appropriate for your young children to watch, then by all means, I would say don't let them watch it.
Yeah, but, I guess obviously every parent.
Would you let your kids watch it?
Yeah, hell yeah, of course.
Okay.
I probably would not shield my children from too much, because I think, again, they get, especially in today's day and age of the internet, like they're exposed to stuff anyway. So you might as well like be exposed with them and have those conversations and talk about stuff that you might not necessarily approve of as a parent and work through it, rather than being controlling and saying, in this household, we're not going to talk about or watch that. Honestly, I would, instead of controlling, I would say, like, ask me my thoughts about what you want to watch, and I'll tell you, and then I'll genuinely also hear back about why your child wants to watch something too, and give children advocacy, because I really think that. But that's the topic for that's even different. More different topic. Yeah. Because I would say though that those parents or the families that might be more, would you say maybe that, or that might lean more conservative, that it might even be valuable to watch the show to maybe learn or broaden their horizons? Or what do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. If I was young enough to have my children at home, I would have not hesitate in the least to sit down and watch that show with my children. I've seen something far worse on television other than this. The level of cussing was minimal, and it was just not anything that would be offensive, I don't think, to a conservative person.
Okay. I think, would you say that maybe like some people that would err more conservative or have misgivings about similar types of media, that maybe they have underlying associations of like queer or homosexuality, like that maybe they think that if something is falls underneath that umbrella, that it thus means it's then obscene or things like that? Do you think that's why they might think that it doesn't represent their values?
I think there might be some people that might fall into that category, but I think for the most part, people would accept that as, to me, seeing the queens interact with each other and how they supported each other and how the history and the behind each queen's childhood contributing to what brought them to that place, I think all brings about a real human interest in the each individual. And I think that's partly one of the good reasons to be able to watch it and evaluate it.
Is your eye hurting?
A little bit.
I think you got mascara on your eye. So I'll try and wrap it because I'm like,
I know.
oh, sorry. But yeah, well, thank you for sharing your thoughts about that. Because I do think it's, you know, it's valuable to stay open and get your input since you've lived for so short.
Yeah, sure.
But well, thank you for watching RuPaul's Drag Race with me and
Oh, yeah.
going to the shows. And
I can't, I mean, I get it, updates on my phone about RuPaul, and it's like, you know, hey, Austin, did you hear about this? You know?
Yeah.
So, but I can't wait for the next season to come up.
Yes, and hopefully we'll figure out a way to
and
watch
I'm assuming, have they started filming for another season yet?
I mean, I'm sure that they're in the process and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not too sure. But all right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. Of course, like all other internet people and everybody else trying to get their podcast clout, please like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. I should probably go make some like Juicy Jude other social media pages besides just YouTube. But I'll link all that stuff down below, as well as our own personal stuff if you're interested in following.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, stay tuned for that episode that we did film already. We got a great conversation talking about some
mental
spiritual
illness.
journeys, mental stuff. So
family history.
Yeah, but if that's it, she's gonna go clean her eyeball, and I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. So
thank you so much. We love you guys.